talaga ang focus namin. Kasi ang nakikita ko talaga, sir, yung as early as kinder, grade 1, kailangan marunong na magbasa ang mga bata. Bagamat sa part ko as guro, mahirap kasi yung word na balanse ay napakahirap yun. Paano ko nga naman ibabalance ang pagiging grupo? Siyempre, meron din akong pamilya. Pero nga ang sabi ko, na-encourage ko po kasi, sir, ang family ko na samahan ako. At siyempre, yung mga parent mismo ng mga bata na ito na nakikitaan ko talaga ng potential na kapag nariyan ang teacher at magulang para sa mga bata, may maayos silang pundasyon. Kaya sabi ko, parent, kung gusto ninyong matulungan inyong mga anak, kailangan mayroon po silang good basic foundation. Of course, sa values nila, pag-uugali. At kailangan ang mga bata ay marunong magsabi ng po at saka opo. Maging masunurin silang bata. Mahirap po yan, sir, gampanan ng isang teacher kasi lalo na sa panahon ngayon. Hindi katulad dati, sir, na pag naglalakad ang teacher ay magmamano yung mga bata. Siguro dahil nga sa makabago. Pero kasi ako bilang isang teacher, kailangan ko rin po suyuin talaga ang mga bata na mabigyan sila ng magandang pundasyon. Kasi iba na nga ang kabataan sa panahon ngayon. Pero hindi talaga ako nawawalan ng pag-asa, sir, sa pamagitan po ng aking advocacy journey of hope. Kaya hindi po talaga nawawalan ng pag-asa. Kung minsan, hindi natin maiwasan, magkaroon din tayo ng sakit, masama ang ating pakiramdam. Pero kailangan, pagdating sa bata, alive ka, active ka. Kaya naniniwala pa rin ako, sir, kay Gato Rizal na ang kabataan ay pag-asa ng bayan. Huwag natin po silang hayaan. Kasi sila yung susunod na henerasyon sa kanila manggagaling yung mabuti nating leader, yung mabuti nating tagapamuno sa iba't ibang larangan. Kaya, sir, sana nga po ang mga kabataan sa ngayon. At saka ano, sir, hindi naman hadlang yung mahirap ka, wala ka ng pag-asa. Marami na po ang mga maaring tumulong sa panahon na ito. Kaya wag po natin sayangin yung maari nating maibigay na magandang kinabukasan ng bata. Yung mga matatanda o young at heart ay patuloy na makiisa para matulungan ang ating mga kabataan. Yan po, sir.
Ayan, maraming salamat Katropang Fe. So, diyan po nagtatapos ang ating programa pero gusto ko munang ulit pasalamatan si Katropang Fe at batiin din ang ating mga kasamahan dito sa DWDD Katropa Radio, of course, at ang ating kasamahan sa Voice of the Teachers.
Ito ang DWDD 1134 kHz AM. Balita, impormasyon at musika. Ito ang DWDD AFP Radio. Boses ng Kawal Pilipino. Mga katropa, alam mo ba na ang DWDD 1134 kHz AFP Radio ay ang opisyal na radio station ng Sandatahang Lakas ng Pilipinas na binubuo ng Army, Navy at Air Force na siyang maghahatid sa inyo ng mga balita mula sa ating Armed Forces at iba pang impormasyon. Mga katropa, hanapin at ilike kami sa Facebook, Twitter at YouTube. DWDD AFP Radio, ang boses ng Kawal Pilipino.
Magandang hapon mga katropa, ako po si Angeline Aventino Salvador at kayo po ay nakikinig sa Voice of the Teachers Radio. Ito po ay mapapakinggan sa DWDD 1134 kHz AM AFP Radio or pwede rin nyo rin pong panoorin sa Voice of the Teachers sa page ng Voice of the Teachers Multimedia at sa Facebook page ng AFP Radio DWDD. On behalf of all the hosts of Voice of the Teachers, especially to Katropang Herman Brinas of Guidance Counselors Corner, thank you for tuning in sa DWDD AFP Radio, ang boses ng Kawal Pilipino. Ang ating po segment ngayon ay The Techie Teacher at ang topic natin ay Disconnect to Reconnect, Ways on how to care for your digital self. At ang guest po natin ngayon ay isang licensed psychometrician and psychologist. She graduated from PUP with a course of BS Industrial Psychology, and she also took up her master's degree in counseling psychology at the Ateneo de Manila University. And currently, she works as an HR practitioner in a basic educational school. At siya rin po ay isang freelance speaker, facilitator, and counselor. And she is active in her parish church as a volunteer. So, hindi ko na patatagalin pa ang ating guest for this afternoon. I see Miss Wena Brigaste. Hi, Wena.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Thank you for giving us a chance to chat with you. Okay, so kung hindi nyo alam, siya po ay aking batchmate sa school.
Diba?
At naging ka-work ko din siya. So,
Oo,
marami na kaming shared experiences ni Wena. So anyway, ang ating segment ay The Techie Teacher, and ang focus natin right now is digital self-care. So let's start off with our first question.
Okay.
How much time do you spend online and how much time do you spend offline?
Nako, alam mo, nakakatawa. Nakakatawa yung question mo na yan. Because I'd like to begin siguro by saying that the pandemic is partly to be blamed for this. But to be honest, no, on weekdays, halos buong araw, like in the morning, of course, I make use of social media, I make use of the messenger, email, basically for work, no? Siyempre yung start ka ng araw mo, and pagdating mo sa work, yung form of communication na kasi is really digital, so meaning you make use of different platforms, basically madalas social media and email. Even during break periods, to make use of social media, syempre as a form of relaxation, Instagram, TikTok. And then after work, pag sinabi, parang gusto ko magpahinga, you use naman your presence also in the digital platform for entertainment naman, like Netflix, TikTok, other applications. So talagang almost all the time. And then even during weekends, pag natapos mo syempre yung mga usual mo na chores, tsaka yung mga errands mo for the day, mostly for entertainment. So talagang, hindi naman 24/7, pero madalas, sobrang madalas siya. Offline, bihira lang if I need to, may meetings ako na in person, or if I need to go to the church. So basically yun lang, or syempre pagkakain and everything. But most of the time, online talaga. Yeah.
So usually like, pag offline, it's either family or church.
Yeah, mga ganun lang. But
or siguro face-to-face business sa school.
Yes, oo. Pag sa work talaga, pag kailangan ng mga in-person meetings. Yeah.
Oo. Sa work mo ngayon, since nag-shift na tayo talaga, di ba? So, kung ipa-percentage mo siya, ilang percent yung face-to-face dealings mo sa school compared sa percentage ng online presence or computer-related work?
Well, for this school year kasi, we transitioned already na mas lamang na yung face-to-face, especially sa office, well, dito sa department namin. In person na talaga every day. But then, siguro nung pandemic din kasi, nag-transition yung mga tao. Before, instead of syempre, pag mayroong absent or mayroong mga communication, you do that, you print out your documents and everything. Pero nowadays kasi, we're allowing na yung communications via email. Or mas madalas kasi it's faster if you send a message via messenger. So that's why we use these different tools. Pero in terms of our work talaga, face-to-face na majority of our dealings, our transactions. Pero most of the time pa rin, yung communication is done virtually or digitally.
Mm-mm. Okay. So parang ano to kasi depends on the urgency, no, ng
Yeah. oo.
communication. So, how would you describe your digital self and your real self? So, ngayon ko lang na-discover yan actually na
Mhm.
hiwalay pa palang iyong digital persona sa iyong real life o persona.
Yeah. I guess, ano rin to tingin ko ang dala rin ito is during the pandemic talaga. Kumbaga, mas naging tech-savvy lalo yung mga tao. Meaning,
Tama.
mas nagdepende sa social media, sa virtual communication. But if you would ask me, siguro sa akin, I could say kasi I'm a very active person pagdating sa social media in particular. In the sense that I communicate a lot nga via different platforms, no? So meetings, yung usual day-to-day communication. I share a lot of posts, saka pictures, mga even yung sa personal accounts ko. So, I'm very active pagdating sa digital. If you talk about my digital self, but I think wala namang masyadong pinag-iba dun sa real self ko in terms of how I present yung myself as an individual. Except that, siguro I could say that I try to be very mindful of what I share or post. Or how I present myself online. Siguro, well, I believe that it has something to do with the industry I work in. Being in sa educational institution, plus my ministry in the church. So parang feeling ko there's an expectation that you have to always put your best foot forward. I'm not saying naman na parang pakitang tao or fake siya, but it's more of trying to be more responsible siguro. Because I know that there are a lot of people who would see posts or yung mga tao na nakakausap ko even virtually. Like for instance, siguro, example sa Facebook, I have like 2,000 FB friends. And most of them, aside from friends and family, yung colleagues, former students or former counselees even, my former teachers, my immediate superiors, so lahat yan nasa Facebook. Even the people I work with sa simbahan. So I try my best na yung digital self ko is actually kumbaga naka-anchor siya dun sa value siguro that I believe in. So I try to be more responsible kahit dun sa mga simpleng memes siguro that I share. Kasi nga alam ko yung mga makakakita no? Yung mga makakakita who could say na, naku, sa ano pa naman yan nag-work, sa school pa naman yan counselor pa naman yan, or church worker pa naman siya. So medyo may pressure doon ng konti. But I try my best to balance it out. Kasi of course, tao lang din naman tayo. Sometimes, yung social media is, kumbaga there's a temptation to use it as an outlet, like if you feel sad or frustrated. Pero ang nakakatawa, what I did was, doon nag-start yung usual ko na ginagamit na hashtag na when na be inspired.
Ay, alam ko yun.
Yeah, it's a time
Nababasa ko yung mga posts mo nun.
Oo, because there are times na parang yung sobrang kang frustrated and you want to rant, di ba? That's the tendency. You want to rant, you want to let it all out. Kaya lang sabi ko, hindi pwede. Because syempre yung mga makakabasa nun would ask, ano kaya nangyayari sa kanya? Bakit gano'n? Kung rant siya.
Baka seryosoin ka masyado or they would think na may problema ba siya or depressed ba siya? Gano'n.
Yes. So I try to
jump into conclusions na sila.
Oo, and syempre lalo magtatanong sila. So what I do is I try to turn it into something that's more constructive. So instead of ranting, I try to create like motivational posts for myself. It began, it was for myself. Kaya when be inspired. So it's like telling myself na find some inspiration to continue on. Basically, it became my coping mechanism, parang defense mechanism siya for me. So instead of ranting, so I try to find something that's motivating. Although I also have my Twitter account. Yun naman sa Twitter, kasi feeling ko mas konti lang naman yung followers ko doon. And it's parang mas free siya, mga one-liner lang. So parang for me, it's a safe space naman to express my opinions. Like, lalo na yung kasagsagan ng mga issues sa politics and others.
Yes, tama.
Pero very subtle. Yeah, pero very subtle pa rin. Just like in real life. Subtle lang and everything. So, parang pareho lang naman in moderation whenever I involve myself digitally. So yeah.
Parang medyo may konting pag-iingat lang kapag
Yes.
nagpo-post.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
So, what is digital self-care ba? And why do you think it's important for us to do digital self-care?
Yes. I guess for me, digital self-care means there's a conscious or there's a deliberate effort, to limit yung the amount of time we spend on devices, we spend on social media, we spend on, sending out emails or replying to different communication platforms. It's also limiting screen time siguro. Kasi when we talk about overall mental health and general well-being, kasama din siya yung digital self-care. Right. So you're asking why is digital self-care important? So I believe that it's important, una muna, to be mindful of our own privacy and security. Kasi minsan, well, especially nowadays, kapag masyado tayong active digitally, of course, we share so much about our personal lives. Like even, di ba, madalas yung mga whereabouts natin, even yung mga simple things na kinakain natin, nasang restaurant tayo. So, minsan masyado din naman na-expose yung buhay natin sa mga tao. And siguro nasusundan nila yung nangyayari sa atin, to the point that sometimes we give out some, mga very sensitive details na about our being. And when we talk about syempre data privacy, yung digital presence natin could also sometimes put us in danger, yung real danger, and we become vulnerable dun sa mga masasamang loob. So that's one thing siguro that's why it's important na we apply also digital self-care. And also, siguro it's important because especially nowadays, in the day and age when society demands so much from us, na parang we're all expected to be productive all the time, and productivity is usually equated to doing tons of work all at the same time. Easy. Di ba? Yun yung description ng productivity eh. Nakakalimutan natin na napakahalaga ng pahinga. Pero madalas kasi, we usually define pahinga as using gadgets pa rin or watching TV.
Oo, may ginagawa pa rin eh.
Oo, so that's why we need to remind ourselves that when we say rest, this includes yung sinasabi nila na sensory rest, meaning we really take the time off from the internet, from using gadgets, or even just watching the television. Sinasabi na we need to have a downtime, yung as in totally walang ginagawa, kundi huminga lang. Siguro huminga lang. Or else kasi, I think the tendency would be, mas magiging stressed tayo rather than rested. So that's why digital self-care is important.
Oh, guilty ako dyan. Oo. Yung sasabi ko magpapahinga ako pero nagtitingin pa rin ako, nagsiscroll pa rin ako ng phone, which is straining din sa mata. I think that's why physically hindi rin siya rest. So we have to know the difference, no? So what are some of the ways kaya on how we can care for both our digital and our real selves? So aside siguro sa na-mention na natin na bawasan yung screen time, what other things can we do para mapangalagaan natin not only yung presence natin sa social media or sa internet, but also our personal lives as people outside?
Yeah, I think number one is to set limits or boundaries. Like, especially, well, it starts with work, for example. We have to limit it in a sense that you would know that your colleagues are probably not working during the weekends. So you set limitations. Do I send an email during the weekend? Do I remind something during the weekend? Or probably limit ko siya during the week lang. So ganun din with our personal lives. Like, how much do I share online? How much do I tell people, dun sa base sa mga posts ko or with what I share? What is the quality of the things I share online? Is it worth sharing really? Kasi parang, di ba ngayon parang ang daming memes, ang daming mga kung ano-ano na sometimes hindi naman verified, but people still share them. So in a way, we also care for ourselves and for others by making sure that we use it responsibly. So we set limitations and boundaries. Siguro second would be, sabi nga, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So we need to prioritize rest and our well-being. So importante yung digital detox. So sometimes sobrang toxic na, di ba, ng social media, ng internet. So we see a lot of things. Madami lagi nagva-viral na mga kung ano-ano. And at some point, talagang naapektuhan din tayo, aminin man natin or hindi, direct or indirectly. So, I know some people na pag weekends, totally hindi sila nagsa-social media. So, it could also practice. Pero medyo challenging yun. Pero sabi nila may ganun, Saturdays or Sundays hindi sila nagsa-social media. It could also be a good practice. And then, aside from that, being mindful. No? So, mindfulness activities or focusing on the now is a good practice. Like, we focus only on the things that we can control. Minsan kasi inis na inis ka na dun sa nabasa mo sa social media. So, it affects your health din eh. Tapos, o kaya magre-reply ka, tapos nagiging thread na siya. So, medyo toxic for us.
Napapasama ka na dun sa narrative nung viral topic na yon. Hindi ka naman kasali in the first place.
Dumadami yung kaaway. May mga ganun na in reality, hindi naman kayo magkakakilala talaga.
So, yun nga eh. You give these strangers yung license para maapektuhan ka or masiraan ka or masaktan ka, di ba?
Yeah. Instead na nagpapahinga ka dapat, affected ka.
So true, talagang affected.
I think siguro, especially now na medyo hindi na ganun ka-strict yung, in terms of the pandemic, how we deal with it, in a very strict. I think still with caution, siguro we should slowly go back to more face-to-face interactions. Yung talaga yung connection natin with people. Iba kasi pag virtual lang kesa dun sa face-to-face, like if we do it via chat, minsan iba yung pagkakasabi natin kesa sa pagkakatype natin. So, malaking bagay yun eh. Siguro yun, medyo mag-transition na din talaga dun sa mas in-person na dealings din.
Parang if you can meet in a safe place or, less crowded place, why not, di ba?
Still following the protocols naman. So, I think kasi it gives us more sense of reality, connecting our digital and real selves. Kapag masyado kasi nakadepende tayo dun sa virtual world natin. So parang sometimes naiiba na siya from our real selves din kasi. So, but if we have yung face-to-face interaction, it's kumbaga, yun yung mas realidad na pwede natin na panghawakan.
Thank you. I think very helpful yan, not just for teachers and students, pero also, sa pangkalahatan na. So for people, especially for those who are, in a job that is mostly online, marami tayong stresses. So we have to learn how to gauge kung hanggang saan tayo dapat magtrabaho, hanggang kailan, how much. Dahil kung hindi na tayo magsiset ng limits, baka maubuso din tayo. So, and it's not only affecting us, but also the people around us. So, we've come to the last question. So, what is your message to someone who struggles to find balance between being his digital self and being his real self? So, kumbaga parang nagkakaroon na siya ng, what do you call this? Nagkakaroon na siya ng crisis. Kasi parang hindi na niya, nag-overlap na yung digital self niya and real self niya. So, what do you think is a message you can give?
Siguro, first is that know that you are not alone in this kind of battle. Siguro, it's multifactorial, but malaki yung naging epekto talaga ng pandemic eh. But know that, other people are also experiencing this. And tayo siguro at some point, we also experience this. Many are actually struggling with trying to strike a balance between their digital self and their real self. Kasi nga, ang daming ganap. Kumbaga, ang daming nangyari in the past few years. And siguro at the end of the day, self-awareness and self-compassion is key. It's important to still be aware of who you are. Not only who you are trying to, or how you're trying to present yourself, but who you really are. You go back to your core, you hold on to your values as a person. Kasi at the end of the day, dun ka naman talaga babalik. Dun sa convictions mo, sa beliefs mo as a person. And siguro mahalaga to accept the self without judgments. You might say kasi na parang, you've been working so hard kasi, or you've been, neglecting your well-being. So it will do more harm than good kasi it's like that. So self-awareness and self-compassion is key. Hindi ka nag-iisa, marami din nakaka-experience niyan, but it's a process na we need to face, no, na if it's really difficult to find balance between, these two conflicting or sometimes conflicting version of ourselves. But at the end of the day, if you know who you really are, that's yun yung mas importante. And we go back to our relationships with others. Siguro kasi that's also a way of for us to get to know ourselves better. Minsan nawawala ka na because nga ang dami nang nangyayari sa paligid, and yung anxiety, yung mga worries natin, yung mga fear of the unknown natin na lalong na exacerbate because of what's happening around us. It's really tough, facing all of these things. Yung challenges also ng transitioning virtual world to the real world, so it's difficult as well. But we go back to our core, we go back to our values. And if kailangan na talaga, we seek professional help, as necessary. Kasi talking to somebody else like a counselor or a therapist, instead of just resorting to being online all the time, or ranting sa online or nakikipag-away sa online, or moving from one app to another, siguro mas makakatulong if we really talk to people and try to vent out our emotions and try to reconnect more with the real people siguro. So it will help us somehow lessen the burden of the struggle between digital self and the real self.
I remember there was a former student of mine na ano siya sa akin so parang, Miss, how do I deal with this person? Kasi nag-post yung friend niya na parang very hopeless na post na parang have lost all hope, ganyan na. Pero on her part, parang I don't know how to deal, or what do I say, or what should I do? So parang for people who are not experts or who are not knowledgeable on, psychology or yung pag-iintindi ng mga mental health issues, paano kami magre-respond to those kinds of posts? Or should we comment, or should we PM or something? Yeah.
Siguro mas makakatulong if it's a direct message, a personal message, asking lang how is the person. So napakalaking bagay nung mga salitang kumusta ka, or ano nangyayari sa'yo. When we ask that question, it means that we are ready to listen, meaning we apply active listening. Meaning we don't listen in order to respond, but we listen to understand where the person is coming from. And when we ask the question, kumusta ka, hindi naman necessary that we reply with an advice or, something motivational or whatever. But siguro ang maganda is to assure the person that you are there and that you are willing to listen, and that if the person needs any help, you'd be willing to reach out and to assist him or her in whatever way you can. So it's more of giving that assurance siguro. Yun yung first step. Because yun nga, hindi naman lahat equipped dun sa skill siguro of when we talk about counseling or giving advices. But making sure that the person feels na hindi siya alone kung ano man yung pinagdadaanan niya, and that you're willing to listen. And when we listen, dapat walang judgment, and we cannot say words such as, ikaw pala may kasalanan, or kaya we also avoid toxic positivity, like saying na, simple lang yan mas mahirap yung pinagdadaanan ng iba. So basically, when we ask the question, kumusta ka, no judgments, no anything. Basta we're just willing to listen, we absorb where the person is coming from, kung ano yung pinagdadaanan niya, and we reassure that, whatever happens, I'm here with you, I'm willing to help you. Just, probably call me or give me a text message or just about anything. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's it Thank you very much, Wena. So this is a very fruitful discussion. I wish we had more time. Siguro next time, mag-guest ka ulit. So I hope that those who are watching or listening to us will be able to take to heart all of the advices or maybe even experiences that we have shared. Because, I think the one takeaway that I got from Wena is that you are not alone. And if ever you need help, there's nobody who can stop you from asking for help. And it's not a weakness to ask for help. So, teacher ka man, kahit boss ka pa, or even if you are a subordinate, I think it's important for you to reach out. Wag tayong mahihiya. And I hope na ibukas din natin or buksan din natin yung mga sarili natin to those people who really need an ear to listen, and a heart to understand. So thank you so much, Wena, and thank you everybody for those who listened today, watched today, and hopefully we'll see you again in the next segment or in the next episode. Thank you everybody, and this has been Voice of the Teachers.
Ito